My phone lit up just as I was about to lock the bakery for the night. I smiled, thinking it was probably my best friend Rachel calling to celebrate. Instead, my brother Jake's name flashed on the screen. I hesitated before answering. Jake never called this late unless he wanted something. "Emma, we need to talk." His voice was flat, businesslike, not the tone of someone calling to say, "Congratulations on your bakery's 5th anniversary." "About what?" "Grandma's house. Can you meet me and Mom at the lawyer's office tomorrow at 2? My stomach dropped. Our grandmother had passed away 3 weeks ago, and we'd just had the funeral last week. I knew she'd left a will, but I hadn't expected this kind of summons. "Jake, I have a business to run. Can't this wait?" "No. It's important. Just be there." He hung up before I could respond. I stood there in the dark bakery, surrounded by the sweet smell of tomorrow's cinnamon rolls proofing in the back. I'd built this place from nothing. Started at 16, working the early morning shift at a grocery store while finishing high school. Saved every penny, put myself through community college business classes at night. Worked 2 jobs until I was 25. Then I took out a small business loan and opened Sweet Emma's Bakery 7 years ago. Jake, on the other hand, had quit 3 different jobs in the past 5 years. Our parents had paid for his state school education, bought him a car when he turned 18, and even gave him a down payment for a condo that he lost in foreclosure 2 years later. He was 35 years old and still living in their basement. The next day, I walked into the lawyer's office with a knot in my stomach. Mom sat in one of the leather chairs, looking uncomfortable. Jake stood by the window, arms crossed, wearing the same expression he'd had when he was 12, and wanted to trade my birthday present for his broken toy. The lawyer, Mrs. Henderson, was an older woman with kind eyes and silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. She'd been Grandma's attorney for 20 years. "Thank you for coming, Emma," she said warmly. "I know this is a difficult time." Jake didn't wait for pleasantries. "Can we just get to it?" "Mrs." Henderson opened a folder and cleared her throat. "Your grandmother left very specific instructions. Emma, she left you her house in Riverside, along with its contents." My heart stopped. Grandma's house. The beautiful craftsman bungalow where I'd spent every summer of my childhood, where she'd taught me to bake, where we'd spent hours in her garden, where she'd listened to all my dreams about opening my own bakery someday. "What?" Jake's voice cut through my thoughts. "That doesn't make sense. That house should be sold and the money split between us. It's only fair." "Jake," Mom started, but he interrupted her. "No, seriously. Why would she leave everything to Emma? I'm the oldest, I'm the grandson. This is ridiculous." Mrs. Henderson's expression remained neutral. "Your grandmother was very clear in her wishes, Jacob. The house and all its contents go to Emma. There's also a letter she left for you both." She handed us each an envelope. My hands shook as I opened mine. "My dearest Emma," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm watching over you from somewhere much better than my old bones could take me. I want you to have the house because you understand what it means to build something with your own hands. You've never asked me for anything, even when times were hard. You worked for everything you have, and I'm so proud of the woman you've become. This house is my way of saying thank you for all the Sunday dinners, all the times you checked on me, all the hours you spent just keeping an old woman company. Use it however you see fit. Bake something wonderful. Love, Grandma." Tears streamed down my face. Jake crumpled his letter and threw it in the trash can. "This is bullshit. She was old. She didn't know what she was doing." "Jake," Mom gasped. "She was 87, Mom. She probably had dementia or something. Emma must have manipulated her. I felt like I'd been slapped. I would never." "Really? You just happened to be there every Sunday? You just happened to be her favorite? Come on, Emma. You knew exactly what you were doing." Mrs. Henderson stood up. "Mr. Morrison, I need to remind you that I personally witnessed your grandmother sign this will. She was of completely sound mind. She knew exactly what she was doing and why." "We'll see about that," Jake said, grabbing his jacket. "Come on, Mom. We're getting our own lawyer." My mother looked torn. She glanced at me, opened her mouth as if to say something, then followed Jake out of the office. I sat there, stunned, clutching Grandma's letter. "Emma," Mrs. Henderson said gently, "your grandmother anticipated this might happen. That's why she was so thorough in documenting her wishes. The will is ironclad, but she was wrong about one thing. It wasn't ironclad enough to stop Jake." 2 weeks later, I received notice that Jake was suing me. The claim stated that our grandmother had been suffering from dementia and undue influence at the time she made the will. He was demanding the house be sold and the proceeds split 50-50 between us. I couldn't believe it. My own brother was taking me to court. I called my mother, hoping she'd talk sense into him. "Emma, honey, maybe Jake has a point," she said, her voice tired. "The house is worth almost $400,000. That's a lot of money for one person to get. Grandma left it to me, Mom. It was her choice. But Jake is really struggling right now. He lost his job again last month. He needs this money to get back on his feet. He's 35 years old. When is he going to stand on his own 2 feet? That's not fair. Not everyone can be like you, Emma. Some people need more help." I hung up feeling sick. My own mother was siding with him. The months leading up to the trial were hell. Jake's lawyer sent me multiple requests for depositions, demanded financial records, wanted access to all my communications with Grandma. They were trying to paint me as some kind of scheming manipulator who'd isolated an elderly woman and poisoned her mind against her own grandson. The truth was so much simpler. I'd loved my grandmother, and she'd loved me back. I'd shown up. I'd been there, not because I wanted something, but because spending time with her made me happy. Jake, meanwhile, had visited maybe twice a year, usually on holidays, and usually left early to meet up with friends. My lawyer, a sharp woman named Victoria Chen, was confident but cautious. "The problem is," she explained, "they don't have to prove she had dementia. They just have to create enough doubt about her mental state. And 87 is old enough that a jury might be sympathetic to the idea. But Mrs. Henderson said she was perfectly sound, and will use that testimony. But be prepared for this to get ugly. They're going to bring up every time you visited her, every gift she gave you, every conversation you had. They'll try to make it look calculated." She was right. It got ugly. Jake's lawyer deposed me for 6 hours. He asked about every single visit to Grandma's house. How often did I go? What did we talk about? Did I ever discuss her finances? Did I know what her house was worth? Did I ever suggest she leave it to me? "No," I said firmly. "I never asked her for anything. I didn't even know she was leaving me the house until after she died. But you knew she had a valuable property. Everyone knew that. It's been in our family for 60 years, and you never thought about what would happen to it after she passed? I thought my brother and I would probably sell it and split the money. That's what usually happens. So you did think about the money." I wanted to scream. Every answer I gave, he twisted into something sinister. The trial was scheduled for early December, right in the middle of my bakery's busiest season. I spent my mornings baking, my afternoons with Victoria preparing testimony, and my nights lying awake wondering how my family had come to this. The courthouse was cold on the day of the trial. Jake sat on one side of the room with Mom and his lawyer, a slick-looking man in an expensive suit named Richard Drummond. I sat on the other side with Victoria. We didn't make eye contact. Drummond's opening statement was brutal. He painted Grandma as a confused, lonely old woman who'd been systematically isolated by her granddaughter. He showed the jury photos of the house, talked about its value, suggested that I'd seen dollar signs and pounced on an invulnerable elderly person. Victoria's opening was simpler. She showed the jury Grandma's medical records from her last physical, 6 months before she died. Perfect cognitive function. She showed bank statements, proving Grandma had been managing her own finances until the very end. She read portions of the will that demonstrated clear, specific reasoning for each decision. Then came the witnesses. Drummond called Mom first. She looked miserable on the stand. "Mrs. Morrison, would you say your mother showed signs of confusion in her final years?" "Well, sometimes she'd forget things. Little things, like whether she'd already told me a story. What about bigger things? Did she ever seem confused about who people were? About where she was?" Mom hesitated. I could see her wrestling with herself. "No, she was always sharp about the important things. But you agree that leaving a $400,000 house to one grandchild and nothing to the other seems unusual?" I think she should have split it fairly. Yes." My heart sank. Drummond called Jake next. He played the hurt grandson perfectly. Talked about how much he'd loved Grandma, how shocked he'd been to find out about the will, how he couldn't understand why she'd do this. "Did your sister spend a lot of time alone with your grandmother?" "Yeah, every Sunday. For years. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but now." He trailed off, shaking his head sadly. "Now you wonder if she was influencing your grandmother's decisions?" "Objection," Victoria said sharply. "Speculation. Sustained, but the damage was done. The jury had heard it. Then it was our turn. Victoria called Mrs. Henderson first. She testified about Grandma's mental state, about how clear and specific her instructions had been, about how she'd insisted on explaining exactly why she was making each decision. Did Emma Morrison ever discuss the will with you before Mrs. Morrison's death? No. I don't believe she even knew about it. Did Mrs. Morrison ever express concerns that Emma was manipulating her? Absolutely not. She spoke very highly of Emma. Said she was the only one who really understood her. Drummond tried to shake her testimony on cross-examination, but couldn't make a dent. Victoria called 3 of Grandma's neighbors next. All of them testified that Grandma had been sharp as a tack until the very end. That Emma visited regularly but never tried to keep anyone else away. That Jake rarely showed up. Then came the moment I'd been dreading. The defense calls Emma Morrison to the stand. My legs shook as I walked up. I placed my hand on the Bible and swore to tell the truth. Victoria started gently, asking me about my relationship with Grandma, about our Sunday visits, about what we did together. We baked, I said. She taught me everything I know. We'd spend hours in her kitchen, trying new recipes, talking about life. She'd tell me stories about my grandfather, about growing up during the Depression, about all the things she'd seen and done. Did you ever discuss her will? Never. I didn't even know she had a will until after she died. Did she ever give you money or gifts? Sometimes she'd slip me $20 for gas, and she gave me her recipe box on my 30th birthday. But those were the only gifts I ever accepted from her. Why? Because I didn't visit her for money or things. I visited her because I loved her. Because she was my grandmother and spending time with her made me happy. Victoria paused, then pulled out a piece of paper. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence Defense Exhibit A. What is this? Drummond asked, standing up. It's a letter from Mrs. Morrison, written 6 months before her death and notarized by her attorney. In it, she explains in detail why she made the decisions she made regarding her will. The judge nodded. I'll allow it. Victoria handed me the letter. Emma, would you please read this to the jury? My hands trembled as I unfolded the paper. It was Grandma's handwriting, the same beautiful cursive she'd taught me when I was 7. To whom it may concern, I began, my voice cracking. I am writing this letter to explain my decision to leave my house to my granddaughter Emma Morrison. I am 87 years old and in full possession of my mental faculties, as my doctor will attest. I make this decision freely and without any influence from Emma or anyone else. I am leaving my house to Emma because she has been the one constant presence in my life for the past 15 years. When my husband died, when I got sick, when I just needed someone to talk to, Emma was there, not because I asked her to be, not because she wanted something from me, but because she genuinely cares about me. My grandson Jacob has his own path in life, and I love him dearly, but he has never shown the same commitment to family that Emma has. He has been given many opportunities and advantages that Emma never had, and yet Emma has built a life for herself through hard work and determination. This house represents my life's work with my husband. We bought it in 1958, raised our children here, created a home full of love and memories. I want it to go to someone who understands what that means, someone who will cherish it, someone who knows how to build something lasting. That person is Emma. If Jake contests this will, it will only prove my point. Emma would never do such a thing. She would accept my decision, even if she disagreed with it, because she respects my right to make my own choices. I am making this decision with a clear mind and a full heart. Please honor my wishes. Sincerely, Margaret Morrison. The courtroom was silent when I finished. I looked up and saw several jury members wiping their eyes. Drummond stood for cross-examination, but he looked uncertain for the first time. Miss Morrison, isn't it convenient that your grandmother wrote this letter? Convenient for whom? I didn't even know it existed until today. You expect us to believe that? I don't expect you to believe anything. I'm just telling you the truth. My grandmother made her own decisions. She didn't need my permission, and she certainly didn't need Jake's. You're aware that the house is worth nearly $400,000? I am now, yes. And you don't think you should share that with your brother? I looked directly at Jake for the first time since the trial started. He couldn't meet my eyes. My grandmother made her choice, I said quietly. I'm honoring it. If my brother can't respect that, that's his problem, not mine. No further questions. Victoria stood for redirect. Emma, one last question. Why do you think your grandmother left you the house? I thought about all those Sunday afternoons, the smell of sugar and cinnamon, her wrinkled hands guiding mine as we kneaded dough, the sound of her laugh when I told her about my day, the way she'd held my hand at my bakery's grand opening and said, I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. Because she knew I'd take care of it, I said. The same way I took care of her. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. We find in favor of the defendant, Emma Morrison. The will stands as written. Furthermore, we find that the plaintiff's case was frivolous and recommend that he be responsible for all legal fees incurred by the defendant. I nearly collapsed with relief. Victoria grabbed my arm, steadying me. The judge wasn't finished. Mr. Morrison, I want to say something to you directly. Your grandmother left you a precious gift in that letter. She told you exactly who she was and what she valued. The fact that you responded by dragging your sister through the courts speaks volumes about your character. I hope you'll use this as an opportunity to reflect on the kind of person you want to be. You're ordered to pay Miss Morrison's legal fees in the amount of $37,000 within 90 days. Court is adjourned. Jake's face went red, then white. He stood up so fast his chair fell over, and stormed out of the courtroom without a word. Mom approached me hesitantly. Emma? Don't, I said quietly. You chose his side. You stood up in court and implied that Grandma wasn't capable of making her own decisions. You betrayed her memory, and you betrayed me. He's my son. What was I supposed to do? You have 2 children, Mom. You were supposed to be fair. You were supposed to tell the truth. Instead, you let him drag Grandma's name through the mud, because he can't accept that maybe, just maybe, there are consequences to never showing up. I walked away before she could respond. The next few months were strange. Jake never paid the legal fees. Instead, he declared bankruptcy, which meant I'd probably never see that money. Mom called a few times, but I didn't answer. I wasn't ready to forgive her for what she'd done. I moved into Grandma's house that spring. It needed work, but I had plans. I was going to turn the oversized garage into a commercial kitchen and run my bakery from there, expand the business. Maybe teach baking classes in Grandma's big country kitchen. I found more letters from her as I cleaned out her things. She'd written one for every major life event she thought I might face. For your wedding day. For when you have your first child. For when you're feeling lost. I opened that last one late one night, sitting on her back porch with a cup of tea. My darling Emma, it read. If you're reading this, you're probably wondering if you made the right choice. Let me tell you something I learned a long time ago. Family isn't just about blood, it's about showing up. It's about being there when things are hard, not just when they're easy. It's about building something together that lasts longer than any one person. You showed up for me every single week for 15 years. You never missed a Sunday. Even when you were tired, even when you had 100 other things to do. You showed up because you loved me, and that's the greatest gift anyone ever gave me. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for accepting what I freely gave. You earned it. Not through manipulation or scheming, but through simple, consistent love. That's worth more than any house could ever be. Be proud of who you are, Emma. I certainly am. All my love, Grandma. I cried then. Not sad tears, but something else. Relief, maybe. Or gratitude. Or just the overwhelming feeling of being truly seen and understood by someone who mattered. I still run into Jake sometimes. Seattle's a big city, but not that big. He doesn't speak to me, and I don't speak to him. Mom and I have started talking again, carefully, setting boundaries we should have established years ago. She's coming over for Sunday dinner next week. I'm baking Grandma's famous cinnamon rolls. The house is beautiful now. I've painted it cheerful yellow, tended the garden back to life, filled it with the smell of fresh bread and cookies. I teach baking classes every Saturday morning to a group of enthusiastic home bakers who remind me of myself at 16, eager and hungry to learn. I think Grandma would approve. Sometimes, when I'm alone in the kitchen late at night, mixing dough or decorating cakes, I swear I can feel her presence. The warm, comforting sense that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I was meant to do. She didn't just leave me a house. She left me a legacy. A reminder that showing up matters, that consistency counts, that the relationships we build through simple, daily acts of love are the ones that endure. And that's worth more than any amount of money could ever be.